Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So folks, if you have ever built an Android app and your API call failed for absolutely no reason, then today's topic is going to feel very close to home, okay? But before we deep dive, one quick question to all of you. How do you handle an API failure in your app? Because we are talking about something that literally saves your users from uninstalling your app, that is the retry operator in Kotlin Flow, okay? So, quick roadmap so you know what is coming. The agenda for today is we will understand what the retry operator is, real life analogy, why even we need retry. Then there are two categories in retry versus retryWhen, how retry works internally. In practical examples, we'll see like API calls or network issues or some random failures, then dangerous mistakes to avoid, and how many retries should you do in your API calls, and then final takeaway. All right. So we'll begin with the hook, and the hook says, have you ever tried loading a page? It failed, and then you refreshed. It failed again. You refreshed again. So basically, you became the retry operator yourself, right? I am sure this might have happened to you, to each one of you, at least one time, where you have kept on retrying the API call and it got failed again and again. Well, the good news is that Kotlin Flow can do that automatically without giving you a mental breakdown. So you don't have to do it actually by yourself, because Kotlin Flow supports retry and retryWhen mechanism, which does this thing by itself. Okay, so we will understand what is the retry operator first. Okay, the retry n is nothing but the number of times you want to retry. Runs your flow again if it throws an exception. That is the definition of a retry operator. Okay, so retry is basically Kotlin saying, "अरे कोई बात नहीं, चलो एक और chance दे देता हूँ," and then you keep on trying. So that is what, if your flow fails, retry tries again up to the number of times you tell it to do. So the number of times is nothing but the n that you pass as the parameter with the retry operator. Okay. Now, the example says, imagine ordering a food online, then you click confirm order, server fails, rare, but it might happen, and then app automatically tries again in background. Then second try works, food arrives. Okay. So your food app doesn't cry when the first request fails. It just quietly retries. That is exactly what the retry operator does. The app basically doesn't ask you to try again to reorder your food. Rather, it will internally retry if the first time or the first attempt was failed, and it will do it successfully, and you will see your order has been arrived. So that's how the retry operator in real world example would work. Okay, so in this example we are saying, hey Kotlin, please retry this API call, okay, for 3 times if something goes wrong, and after 3 chances it gives up, just like me trying to go to the gym. That's an example. So that's how it will work. Like flow, I'm sure you have seen my previous videos where I've actually explained about the flow, how does it work, the flow operator, what are different type of flows, when to use, why not to use, or why to use. So now what we are seeing is, this is the extension where we are keep on using the flow operator. It keeps on emitting some data from the API, and then there is an option to make use of the retry operator, which basically does 3 times. If it fails once, it will do second time. If it fails twice, then it will attempt for the third time. If it fails for all the 3 times, then in the last it will give you an exception, and it will emit as failed even after retries. So that's how the retry operator will work in simple Android code example. Okay, now we will understand when retry is useful. Simple example is slow internet, weak Wi-Fi, temporary backend failure, or some random 500 error, or token refresh in progress, or maybe server is starting up. So what I mean is, let's be honest, most of the failures in apps are not permanent. We all know that, right? So your user's Wi-Fi didn't die, it just sneezed, right? I mean, it is not necessary that your user Wi-Fi will be blocked or it will be stopped permanently. Rather, there is a possibility that it might be slow at that point in time when you were trying to make an API call. So probably any of the reasons could happen, and because of these reasons you can make use of the retry operator. Okay, but so we will see retry versus retryWhen. As I've mentioned in the first slide itself, there are two categories or two ways where you can actually make use of the retry operator. Either you use retry directly or you make use of retryWhen. So the point says retry is basically a fixed number of times. As we have seen in the last example also, you have to pass the number of times you want to retry for a particular API call. There are no conditions written and it is simple and brute force, right? However, the retry when is used, it is based on conditions. It checks the exceptions, it adds the delays, it checks attempt count, and it decides dynamically. So retry is like your stubborn friend. I will try exactly 3 times pass because you have asked me to try for 3 times only. However, if we make use of retry when, it is like a smart friend. What it says is, I will try again, but only if the reason makes sense. As I've mentioned you in this pointers also, it checks the exception, it retries based on the condition. If all of those things matches, then only it goes for the retry attempt. All right, we will see an example how retry when example can be used, or how this particular retry when can be useful. So if you see this, the same example, it is emitting the data. Now retry when checks, it basically makes use of 2 parameters inside the parenthesis. One is cause, second is attempt. So the condition would be written as, if the cause is input output exception and the attempt is less than 3, then you return true, retry when true. Or if it doesn't matches, then you return retry when false. Got it? Again, I will repeat. It checks for the condition. It uses 2 parameters, cause and the attempt. If the cause is, this is just an example guys, you can make use of any other exception as well based on your requirement. So if, let's say in my condition, I'm checking if the cause is input output exception and the attempt is less than 3, then only I will go and I will return retry when true. Otherwise I will go return retry when false. Okay, so that's how it will be used in any of your examples. Okay, so retry only is basically, the exception is like network related and we haven't already tried 3 times. That would be the example of retry and retry when. And layman example would be like, it's like trying to call your friend. If his phone is busy, like network issue, you try again. If he blocked you, then you use retry when, says nope, not trying for this reason. Okay, now adding delays between retries. As I've mentioned earlier, retry when supports delays as well. Like you want to retry for multiple attempts, but you can add a delay as well, like wait up to 2 seconds, then only you retry. So condition would be written like cause attempt if the attempt is less than 3, but before checking this, it will check for delay. Delay is like it will wait for 2 seconds, and if it fails completely, then only it will go with attempt and it will check if it is true or false. Like sometimes retrying immediately is pointless, right? Like hitting the refresh button when your internet is not even connected. So that doesn't make sense, right? You keep on retrying, it will not make sense. Pause for like some seconds, you take a delay, add some delays, and then make user experience smoother. All right, rather than allowing them to keep on retrying again and again, you just add a delay, and then after a few seconds you allow the user to attempt a retry, or it will do by itself. That will be a good user experience and it will be a smoother one. Okay, Now, this is nothing but a realistic API example. Assuming there is a function fetch user, which is basically under the flow is emitting some, like it is trying to get some data, and then it is retrying cause attempt. If cause is input outer exception and attempt is less than 2, then probably this would be the simplest example. As I've mentioned the same example earlier slide also, that this is how you are going to make use of real that retry when operator. Okay, so like for example, your user is scrolling the app, okay, and Wi-Fi drops for a second because someone turned on something else, or they have turned off the maybe the Wi-Fi itself. So retry when saves your life and quietly refetches the data. That's how it is going to help you by itself. You don't have to do it manually and keep on retrying again and again. Now, the most common mistakes that probably like developers like us, we do, like infinite retries. If we add, then it doesn't make sense. Retrying even for logical errors, like if we have already got 401 or 404 or some known errors, and then also we are trying to retry, we are making use of retry, then it doesn't make sense. It becomes pointless, right? Then not adding delays, of course. If you don't add delays, it will keep on retrying again and again very frequently, which probably will not make sense, because there is a possibility that within some fraction of time, or like 2-3 seconds, you might receive the data and it will be able to fetch the data for you. Then retrying too many times, of course it will drain the battery. So please don't do infinite retries, of course, and your server will block you guys if you keep on attempting to reach the server, even if it is failing, even if it is giving you a genuine errors. Don't do infinite retries. Your phone battery will also resign because you keep on attempting the retry mechanism. And the most important thing, that your user will definitely uninstall your app, because of course developers or just a users who see that okay, there are a few apps which keeps on draining the battery super fast, then you just end up by the user, they just uninstall your application. So if you don't want any of these things to happen, then just make sure that you don't, or you avoid these points specifically. All right, now how many retries should you do? Okay, so as per the industry standard, it should be maximum 2 to 3 retries. Then the delays should be of 500 milliseconds to 2 seconds, and then retry only for network issues. Now guys, don't keep on retrying for any of the reasons. The retry should happen for genuine use cases, and the most genuine one would be the network issues. And it should go maximum for 2 to 3 times, not more than that. Otherwise, it will keep on starting. It will start irritating the user, that why it is keep on retrying and it is draining the battery. So to avoid all of those things, you just focus on these pointers and just follow such things to have a good coding standards in your application. All right, so folks, the final takeaway I would say is that retry is very simple to use. Either you use retry or retryWhen. It is very powerful, it is very user friendly, it saves you from a frustrated customers, and it makes your app feel smarter. And the best part is, your user or your users will think your app is super fast and stable, even though it is quietly retrying things in the background. So that is the benefit of making use of a retry operator when you are making the API calls. Okay, so guys, this is it. And if you have enjoyed this explanation, please hit like, subscribe to my channel, and comment retry rocks, so that I know you have reached this point. And if you want an episode on retryWhen with exponential backoff plus token refresh logic, just tell me. I'm always here for you. All right, I'll see you in the next video.